Hello, dear friends. Kalidas here to offer part 2 of our walk through the Zodiac and the explanation of the various birth signs. We ended at Libra last time, and so let's go ahead and pick up with Scorpio. For Scorpio, the moon rules the 9th house, and this is the egoic need will be for the 9th house, which is God and Guru, truth teachings, a way to bring energy upward, uplift one's mood, to be freed from negative emotion through the grace of some truth teaching. This is an absolute need for a Scorpio rising. And if they don't have a truth teaching, they will be probably irritable, unkind, and always feel that there's something unfulfilled within them. This is because the moon rules the 9th house of spiritual dharma for the Scorpio rising. The sun rules the 10th house. This is career and success in the world, serving humanity. And that's what the Scorpio will mistakenly believe in the beginning is what's missing from their life, is my career, my work, where is my worth? That's why I must feel empty or unhappy inside, as I haven't found the right work in this world. And that struggle can go on for a while. Once they realize that God is real and can help them, and they start tuning in with that 9th house of their spiritual dharma, whatever path they feel inclined towards, it's going to help them in their career. Why? Because it will help them have a positive attitude and positive magnetism to attract the right job for them. But first needs to be that teaching and that practice to tune in. And that's a very important message for a Scorpio rising. And I've known both types in my life, the unspiritualized atheist Scorpios and the really deep spiritual people who have Scorpio rising. And the difference is stark, because one of them, without that moon, that egoic need of something true, something profound and enlightening that touches the soul, if they don't have that, they'll always live in a sense of, as Emerson said, he said, most men live lives of quiet desperation. This is that 9th house being neglected. And if it's Scorpio rising, their very emotional self will be unwell for their whole life until they find a truth-oriented teaching to put their energy towards. And it will uplift their emotional, their water. The Scorpio is a water sign. And it will begin to activate their ability to have positive magnetism in the world, to attract the good jobs and good opportunities and people to serve and people to love. And at that point, once the Scorpio has, through God's grace, reached a career that makes them happy, then they can be a very helpful influence, because they've realized that it's only through God's truth that we can really succeed in this world, in the race towards joy, away from suffering and sorrow. Next we have Sagittarius, which is, the moon rules the 8th house for Sagittarius, the house of death. And when Sagittarians go through their sadhisati, it can be very tough. They can lose something they thought was going to last. They can lose people to death, but they can also lose plans. Plans can break. The 8th house is unexpected karmic debt that often results in the death of something and the rebirth of new perspective. And ultimately, it's a very transforming and purifying and illuminating process if that 9th lord in the Sagittarian's chart, the sun, is attended to. The ninth house again is truth, dharma, it's spiritual dharma. It's your relationship with truth and God. And that's what the sun rules for Sagittarius ascendant. So for us to be able to make it through our moon chapter as a Sagittarian, we will need something related to the infinite, some kind of truth teaching. Otherwise, it will feel like we're dying, and we could die. It's a possibility. The Sati is 7.5 years when the moon is transited by Saturn's presence in the Zodiac, and whatever house the moon rules. That's why I'm doing this series, is because it has to do with what house the moon rules. That's what your Sati will greatly entail. And the 8th house is death, rebirth, and transformation. That's Sagittarian's moon house, but the sun, again, is where we find the real grace and guidance through the difficulty of the ego. And in this case, it's in the truth-oriented teachings and the practice of our spiritual dharma. That would include service, meditation, and spiritual study. And then we come to Capricorn. Capricorn is the 7th house of relationship, as ruled by the moon. So in other words, Capricorns feel a need for a companion. But this companion is ruled by the moon. This is someone who will be very different than them. Won't be as practical, probably a little bit more emotional. And the Capricorn can be cursed by too much practicality. During the Sati for a Capricorn, they would likely lose their partner. They would go through a separation. It's very common because the moon rules the 7th house and the moon is being pressurized. So without some kind of transcendent influence to go beyond one's practical, this things have to be this way, and practicality is both a curse and a blessing for the Capricornian. But in relationship, if you cut someone off just simply cold because they don't meet your needs factually or practically, that's not compassionate, and it will make for a deep sense of loss in your own life. If you have that Capricorn ascendant setup, it means that the 8th house is ruled by the sun. And in order to get through your difficulties in relationship, you're going to need something more than you, something more than your brilliant practical mind, which won't be able to think of the intuitive solution when the pressure's on. It will only think of the practicalities, and the answers won't be there. So we need to come to spirit in the sense of saying, I let go of what I think I know. This is a death to the ego. And we say, but you know the way through this challenge, which will likely be with the partner for the Capricorn ascendant's Sati. And if we can abandon our own limited perspective, which involves all these practical elements we've reasoned out, and instead say, you know more, Spirit, God, help me to be more malleable to what you know I need to be. Let my goal be in touch with your will. And this helps a Capricornian tremendously, because they're the best goal achievers in the whole world. The Capricorn ascendant, they'll step over their partner to achieve their goal. And that's another risk there, is that they work so much that they neglect their relationship. They work towards their goal so much that they neglect the other person's goal, who's just as much a part of their karma. And again, the 8th house is a place where we can release what we're holding on to, die, and be reborn with a whole new insight that involves being a blessing for everyone involved in that karma. And then we have Aquarius, and this is an air sign, loves knowledge, and yet needs to serve. The 6th house rules the moon. The Cancer is the 6th house for an Aquarian. And what this means is that they need to get grounded. They need to ground their truth in practical experience. They no longer are going to be all right just reading books, especially when the Sati arrives, when Saturn transits their birth moon. It will force them to serve, or they'll get sick. The sixth house is also the karmic repercussions that involve dis-ease, imbalance, and in the nervous system, and the difficulties in health that can occur from that. So it's health or service, and if you give service as best as you can, and for a Aquarius rising, the seventh house is the sun. The seventh house is Leo. And what this means is that whatever truth the Aquarian discovers isn't just for them. It's being given to them to share with this world. And that's very important, because if they don't use the truth to serve this world, they'll be missing something very valuable. And that Aquarian will feel empty because they haven't been able to accomplish that which their moon needs to feel useful, needs to feel like it's been beneficial to others in its quest for truth. It's brought the water bearer, and it has quenched the thirst of others. And this is important, this part of it, that we recognize that God shares the truth through us, that it's not the brilliant ego sharing spiritual truth that it realized. These truths have been handed down, enlightened being after enlightened being humbly bowing to their guru, saying, I could not understand any of this without you, my master. So work through me, share your truth through me. This is the Aquarian success, that they are able to reach many through their service to truth, and through their relationship with God within. They will access more and more, as they share with others, the ability to be a profound channel of the truth. And that would be that sun ruling their seventh house. Their social experience is one of illuminating society. And so lastly, in the zodiac, we have Pisces. And Pisces has for its fifth house the moon. The moon rules the fifth house of creative dharma. And this is a need to be creative, to be present, spontaneous, and artistic. A Pisces will not be happy inwardly unless they feel creative freedom. And yet, it's not just about being a creator. The sixth house is ruled by the sun for a Pisces rising. And this means that ultimately learning to serve in some creative way. Yes, being a creative person is important, and it's a need for the Pisces, but they won't go anywhere grounded with it. They won't get any success through it unless their attitude is that of, I want to serve through this. And that triggers the grace of spirit. Whenever we're in a giving state, we're in God's consciousness. That's what He is. Infinite generosity and wish to serve and give. And when we live in that infinite generosity and wish to serve and give, we will feel His power. So this whole zodiac, remember, every 2 hours there's a new sign rising. And whichever 2-hour window you were born, it's going to set you for life on this track of what house does the moon rule. And that's the egoic need. But you won't be able to sustain those needs without the house that the sun rules, which will be Leo, and whatever number house that is in the chart will indicate the place where you need to draw on spiritual grace in order to move towards that egoic goal. And that way you realize in the end, and perhaps most importantly, that it wasn't you who succeeded, that it was the grace of God that you invited and you tapped into, and it came through you, and it fulfilled your dreams better than you could have with just your little moon, which is bound to keep fluctuating as the days go on. It's always afflicted. It's only a brief moment of the month that the moon doesn't have those shadows. So it's best to just go for that sun, which is always shining, always steady, and represents the Heavenly Father's love for you and wish to help you. This is steady, eternal. And when our love and steadiness of service and giving to this world as an expression of our love for the Creator, when that is steady, we also will be one with God again, channeling not the moody moon with shadows and perspectives and practicalities and wishes, but the pure presence that only finds its joy here and now in eternity, and in being an instrument for that eternal light and love. So we're very blessed by this zodiac. It's a shower of blessings that spins around us. And whatever ascendant you have, there's no superior or inferior one. It just has to do with whether you're reaching for that sunlight in your life. And it will illuminate your own moon, your own ego, and empower you. Not in a way that makes you feel like you're more special than others, but in a way that helps you see that everyone's on this same search for this higher self. And the more we do in this world to help others discover it, who are part of us, our real self, the more we automatically begin to ascend into that truth that we're made of God's love. It's endless. And everything here in this dream world is only here to help us become more aware of the purpose of life and the ultimate conquest of life. So thank you for listening today. It's a joy to share these things, and we're very blessed to be at the center of God's creation, His children, His experiments, and He will never let us go. He will keep nurturing us and giving us the right experiences we need for all eternity if He needs to, until we wake up and realize what a brilliant reality we've been made from, and that represents home to us. So let's hasten on our journey into the light together. God bless you, dear friends.